Hello everyone, it's Jill from the Wandering Stamper. Today, or actually this week, we've wandered our way over to Charleston, South Carolina to explore some of the beautiful areas the downtown has to offer. But today we are going to play around with some new products from the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. We are going to use some of the new in color colors, copper clay and boho blue, which of course, as you know, Stampin' Up! Has everything to match. So these just really go so well together. All of the 5 new in color colors are completely coordinated. They just look so pretty together. So we're going to play with this. And then also, because I love the Cheerful Daisy suite so much, we are going to use the Designer Series paper. I love the 2 sheets of this particular one because it actually has a little example of all of the sheets inside the pack. But we're going to play with this particular sheet today, along with the, of course, Cheerful Daisies stamps, which are so pretty. But we are also going to play with something you may not have had a chance to use, which is the elegant border dies. These dies are super pretty, and I'm going to show you a way to make each of the 4 dies a card, and we're going to use 1 die to make a unique corner pocket card. So hang out with me this morning while we create this card and have a little fun in the stamp room. Let's get started. So my inspiration for this card came from my sample. Here we go. So I made this card. Unfortunately, I have need right now to make some sympathy cards, and I needed to make a sympathy card. So I created this card using one of the Elegant Borders dies. It's really pretty. So we're going to do a similar card, but I'm going to change it up a little bit for you today. Excuse me. So first of all, I wanted to point out this paper. There's 2 sheets in the Designer Series Cheerful Daisies pack that has little squares of lots of different patterns. So these kind of work to your advantage when you're making a card because you've kind of got it all put together in a nice little shape. So I actually cut this piece out of another sheet to use, and as you can see, this card was actually made from this corner here. I just cut it out. So this paper, you can be really creative with how you use this paper. So I went ahead before I came on and cut this piece out to fit my card. This piece is from the center part. So I cut that out, and we're going to use the products that will match it all together. So I'm going to set my paper aside. All right. So for this card, we're going to make our base, which is going to be in the copper clay, which I happen to have half a sheet left from another project, so we're going to use that because I love using up my paper as efficiently as possible. All right, let's clear off the work area a little bit. So we're gonna. This is already cut in half. My page turned around. So this should be 5.5. Yes, so this is already cut in half. It's a 4 1/4 by 5.5 sheet. So then I'm going to cut the 4 1/4 because we're not actually needing to fold this in half. We're just cutting it because we're going to make it a pocket. Got a lot of things on my desk. Okay, so we're going to cut that in half, set this aside so we could use it for another card. So that is our base layer. And then we're going to need to cut a layer of white, which is going to be our base where we're going to do our cutting to make the pocket. So the white layer for the pocket is going to be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So 5 3/8. And 4 1/8. So basically I just went down 1/8. Okay, so if I did that right, it should layer nicely on here, which it does. So we're going to set that aside. And then we're going to use boho blue and create the layer for the card that goes in the pocket. And that's going to be 3.5 by 5. So cut that at, actually we'll do it this way, cut it at 3.5. by 5. And that should layer nicely on this piece. And this piece of Designer Series paper I cut at 3 3/8 inches by 4 7/8 inches. So I made it a little bit smaller than my original because I felt like it would fit in the pocket a little bit better. And then the last piece is we need the layer for the back of this card so you can write your message. You could also put another piece of white paper on the back of the card base and use that for your message as well, but I like to put it here. So for that one, we're going to use our other piece of our scrap, and we're going to cut it at 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. So 4 3/4 and 3 1/4. Okay. So then that will layer on the back for your message. All right. So that is all done. We are done with our cutter. All right, so now we're going to lay all our pieces aside. We're going to grab the piece that is going to create the pocket for the card. We're going to take that out, and I'm going to grab my embossing or my Stampin' Up! Die cutter and embossing machine. I love this thing. I use it so much. Trying to put it in the camera so you can see most of it. All right. So the dies. So there's 4 dies. All of these make beautiful borders. I'm going to show you different ways that they work. We're going to use this one right here to create our pocket. So I'm going to pull. And I'm going to grab my plates that I need. My very well used plates, I must say. Okay. All right, and then we're going to get our sheet of paper. So what you want to do is just kind of eyeball where you want it to go. So I think I'm going to do it this direction. And I'm going to want my pocket to be like this. So I just kind of place it where I think it will work nicely. Maybe about right there. Just kind of figure out the look that you want. And then once you get it into place, I tack it down. And if you don't have any of this stuff, this is the, I'm standing up so that I can kind of make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. This is the Post-it labeling cover-up tape. I'll put a link to it for you. This stuff's great. Lisa Curcio told us about this, and it's a game changer. It's sticky, but not crazy sticky, so you can use this for several cuts before you have to change it out. So I just kind of take it off my dies and leave it up here for next time. Get yourself some of this tape, though. It's really, really handy. So we've got it taped down. So I'm going to go ahead and place my mats down and crank that through. All right. It's hard to do this without getting out of camera, so bear with me here. So then once that comes off, I just take these and peel them off. Put them up here for next time. This is delicate, so I kind of do it slowly. Most things I cut aren't so delicate, so but you can just keep using that. So now we have this nice little piece that creates a pocket. So let's get this out of our way and continue on. All right, get all our little pieces out of the way. All right, so this is done. So as you can see, we've got a nice little, where is my take your pick tool? And then what I'll do is just, there's only a couple little things clinging on, so I'll just go through with my take your pick tool and pop those out. But look how pretty that looks against the copper clay. It's really, really pretty. So this is punched away. So I've decided on this particular card, I want the card to open this direction. So what I think I want to do is add some stamping here. And I'm going to do that before I put the card together, just in case I have a boo-boo. I don't want to mess up the look of my card. So I have the matching copper clay and I have the boho blue. And so what I think I'm going to do is add some daisies on here. And I've decided to go ahead and use the half daisy. I just think it's so delicate, so I'm going to use that one. And I think I'm going to stamp it in the boho blue and then add the middle piece in the copper clay. So I'm still pulling together my colors. So I'm going to get the boho blue out. And I think I'll put one here. I always have a hard time with where I want to put things. And then maybe I'll make one go this direction. All right, let's take that off a little bit. And then I'm going to get my little centerpiece and I'm going to stamp that in copper clay. Okay, and I've managed to get ink on my fingers, so there's ink on my paper, but it bugs me more than it bugs the people who get it, I believe, or that's what they tell me. Clean this off real quick. I hate leaving dirty stamps. All right, and then the other thing I want to do is add some stems to make this look like more like a flower. So I created this little mask by stamping the leaves on my grid paper and cutting it out like this. So I can lay it over, and then when I use my there's a stem in the stamp set. So that way I don't have to worry about getting a stem where I don't want it. So I'll put that over it and figure out where I want to stamp. Stamp it maybe right there. And then I'm going to stamp one. Let me figure out where I want to stamp these. Do I want these to intertwine? Maybe I'll do this. How do I want to do this? This was way easier on the other one I did. All right. We're going to go for this. So what it'll do is keep it from getting where it's not supposed to go. All right, so I'm going to clean that off. It's not the best, but as you can see, this one worked out a lot better. I masked off this and I did my stems, and as you can see, they don't go into the flower. So it probably works best to practice on a piece of paper, but it's fine. Looks good. Okay, so that's done. So now we're going to do some layering. I should have gotten out my silicone mat ahead of time. I apologize. Okay, so I'm going to use liquid glue because I want this to be glued down onto my cardstock, but I only want the edge of this to be down so that our pocket is not closed. So I'm going to take my liquid glue. Ooh, that was a big glob. This is why this is handy. And I'm going to put a thin layer here because you want to have room for your card to slide in nicely. This bottle is almost empty and it's getting a little goopy. All right. that okay. And then I'm going to use, clean that off, just so I don't make a mess. I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus because I want that on there nice and firm, and I'm going to just put that everywhere. Because I want this to stay down onto the paper so our pocket doesn't pop up. All right. So now, let's see this. Yep. Double check what I did. So you're going to just kind of eyeball it is good. I only have 1/8 of an inch margin, so it's not too hard to visualize the placement. Okay. So there we go. And then there's our pocket. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment to let that dry. This piece simply needs to be layered on to the blue. Again, I only have 1/8 of an inch margin, so it's very small. It's easy to line up. Okay. And then this one is going to go on the back, and it's where our sentiment is going to be. So we need to decide what we're going to put. So I think for this one, we'll use the Wishing You the Brightest Birthday. I just think that's really pretty. And I have a lot of birthdays coming up, so that sounds like a good stamp to use. Take this off. All right. Now, the question is, what color do we want to use? I think we're going to go with the copper clay since we're using the blue for the base. We'll pull in some copper clay. So I'm going to put my head in the camera for a moment because I don't want to make this crooked. All right, Wishing You the Brightest Birthday. All right, so now that's stamped on, we're going to go ahead and adhere this to the back. Now, we could have actually done it this direction as well, but I like to have more room to write my messages. So I like to do it this way, but you do it whichever way you want. All right, let's get this out of the way. So now this will fit in here nicely. How pretty is that? Easy peasy. I think because it's going to drive me crazy, I'm going to get out my embellishments. So I'm going to get these adhesive back solid gems out and put a couple on here. I have that little splotch of ink that's driving me nuts. So I'm going to cover it up by putting a gem there. And I'll maybe put one here. And we'll do a big one over here. So it gives it a little sparkle. And then because I love the Wink of Stella so much, I'm going to add a little bit in the middle here to give the middle of my flower some sparkle. Because who doesn't like a little sparkle? And I'll even do it over here a little bit to make these sparkly. You don't play with the Wink of Stella. It's so handy. I hardly ever use glitter anymore. The heat emboss glitter, because I like the Wink of Stella and it's so easy and it dries really, really fast. And if you want, you can even pull these out. Just put a little dab on each one, and it just adds a little shimmer, a little sparkle to the middle of the flower. All right, so this card is done. Look how pretty. It was very simple. It looks very elegant. You could use this card for so many things. You could also put a piece of paper back here if you wanted and write your message here, but I liked being able to do it right here. So let me show you the other cards that I made. So this particular card used, well, what did I do with it? Well, here it is. So this particular card used this die, and then also I made this card with it. This is my sympathy card, and this one orients this direction. I really like this one as well. I made the card a little bigger, so it's a little more difficult to get it in there. I like the smaller size better. So those are with that. And then this card, very, very simple. I embossed the front of the card and then added my page in the middle. And then this is using this die. Very pretty, very elegant. And then here's a fun little birthday card I made using the Zany Zoo set. I added the little musical notes to the happy birthday so he looked like he was singing. I added the reverse side of the paper to it to give it some contrast, and that uses this die. And then finally I used the Blossoms die and created this, and I used all of the dies to cut out the flowers in the designer series paper. So the only thing I really stamped was the hello and the sentiment inside, but these are all actually the designer series paper, and I used the dies in the bundle to cut those out perfectly. And then this arched piece, which you could also use for a pocket card, uses this die. So if you've overlooked this Elegant Borders die set, take a look at it. It's way versatile. If you look on Pinterest, there's a million ideas that I've seen, and I'm looking forward to playing with all of the ideas. But I hope you like these cards, and if you want to continue seeing these videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. I post about once a week. My website is almost up, and I'll have some blog posts on there and some other special information for you. But in the meantime, I hope you make it a great day today and enjoy stamping. I'm Jill from The Wandering Stamper. Until next time.